You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. We don't have any new callers, but we got Milton. Milton, what's going on?
Your Uncle Milty here.
Hey, man.
Keeping his oversized opinions in his pants about the upcoming season. But I just watched the America's team for the 2010 Packers Super Bowl team, and I want to encourage everyone right now in the offseason to go ahead and check it out. It will remind us all of the incredible serendipity it takes to win the Super Bowl. Every team that wins it has this. And it's something that I think Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur are well aware of. His statements, Gutekunst's statements about urgency are very well informed by this. And it's just something worth revisiting. Go ahead and watch it. Watch where the players came from. Watch how it all came together. And understand how difficult it all is when it all comes together. This Packers team has never better been poised to make it all come together the way it did with the 2010 season.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel like miracle after miracle after miracle happening. It's hard to fully remember as opposed to misremembering this many years later. So it probably is a good idea to, go back and try to actually go watch through that. But yeah, definitely. See, now I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I feel like at first there was a sense of what the heck is happening here. It was certainly a team that just kept doing the right things all the time. You think about all the game-winning interceptions and just, all the injuries that we dealt with, and then people stepping up and stepping into those roles and playing just as well, if not better. I don't want to say mistake-free football because, again, I'm sure there were mistakes and penalties or whatever, but they over time started to feel like a team of destiny. Like nothing really could get in their way. They could do no wrong. But it did almost feel somewhat supernatural because, again, there have been, in my opinion, better Green Bay Packers teams, as far as going into the playoffs. When we limped into the playoffs that year with help, it didn't feel like we were destined for anything. It wasn't until we actually got to the Super Bowl that in my mind I said, there's no way we're losing this. And it was because we overcame so much and there were so many seeming miracles that happened that I felt that there was no way it would end with a loss. I don't know how you use the word serendipity. I don't know how you build that. It's kind of counterintuitive to try to build towards serendipity, but I do also like the feeling of urgency. I think Gutekunst has always kind of had it. I assumed he had it because it was at the end of Rodgers' tenure, and then Rodgers left, and they're still feeling the same amount of urgency, which I appreciate. I think Gutekunst just recognizes, we're not in a building phase. We got our quarterback, we have the players, we need to go win, and that's obviously correct.
Hey Brian, how you doing? It's
Hey.
Kyle from Madison. Just watching. First quarter's about to end here in the Commanders game. They just went for it on fourth down. Ballsy call. Dang. I give them credit. But I was just watching here, and they got Burks playing for Nakobe Dean, and he just made a hell of a play on Daniels, and it just reminds me with these guys, because Oren Burks was just a special teams guy, and then a barely above replacement level linebacker for us, No,
he was well below.
He was a great special teamer, but when they let him go, I don't think any of us were like, oh man, Oren Burks. it's just a good reminder. These guys sometimes take longer to become their final form. I'm not saying, Oren Burks is a world beater, but he certainly is a hell of a different player than he was on Green Bay. And he's even, looks like he's even evolved since when he was on San Francisco, and I thought he was quite a bit better on the Niners than he was for us. So I don't know. It's just a good reminder, like, yes, I know you like to point out, the statistics once guys get second and third year for not seeing improvement, but at the same time, it isn't written in stone with some of these guys. So I think, somebody like Walker, maybe we do need to just be a little bit more patient, especially if they're not actively hurting the team, just they're kind of on the bubble, because it is still possible for these guys to pop, because certainly, the way Burks is playing, I don't think any of us would have imagined that possible. Certainly not the front office of the Green Bay Packers. So we'll see what happens here. I'm hoping the Commanders can win. It'd be really cool to see the Bills win the freaking Super Bowl, actually, but just not the Chiefs, man. I can't do it. I can't do it again. But at least it won't be the Lions or the Vikings. All right, buddy. Enjoy your day of football. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I had said is that everybody kind of has their own career arc. Some people it's year 1, some people it's year 7. You never really know what's going to happen or when or why. Burks was terrible in Green Bay. He was just awful. I mean, his 4 years here, he graded 44, 45, 28, and then 53. He went to San Francisco and immediately jumped up to an 80. His second year was a 60, so he regressed again. But now he's up to an 82 in Philadelphia. So, whether it's just him being a good football player or it was just a terrible scheme fit, it's got to be frustrating for somebody like Brian Gutekunst, who was, criticized for drafting the guy in the 3rd round. What a reach. He's terrible, this, that, or the other. And you hand him over to the coaching staff. The coaching staff can't get a frickin' thing out of him. He goes to another team, and suddenly he's a great player immediately. And then he goes to a second team and is a great player immediately. It's like, you frickin' bunch of bums. You make me look stupid. Everyone's criticizing me for drafting a bad football player, and you bunch of losers just don't know how to use the guy. And it is frustrating because he should be on our team. We let him go because we didn't know how to properly utilize the guy. And it's possible that maybe just he needed his 4th year to suddenly go from being terrible to being good. Something just clicked in his head. But more than likely, it was the coaching staff that was able to connect the dots for him and understand how to properly utilize the guy. And so, that's another one of the issues. It's not just the GM. I mean, if you don't have the right coaching staff, the idea of building talent becomes a lot more difficult because the GM can go find somebody, but if you bring him in and they waste his talents, this is a miss. This is seen as one of the wasted picks by Brian Gutekunst, and it shouldn't have been. He should be on our team along with Edger and Cooper right now he's getting older, but still, you'd be Edger and Cooper, you would have Quay, and you'd have Oren Burks as your weak side linebacker, and we'd have just a phenomenal linebacker group. But we don't, because we had terrible defensive coordinators and linebackers coaches, and so then we shipped him away because he just couldn't get it done here, and it immediately flourishes for 2 other teams. He's had 1 really bad game all year. He's got an 82 PFF grade, 78 run defense grade, 74 pass rush grade, and a 76 coverage grade. I mean, across the board, the guy is playing really good football. Now, he didn't play all year. He didn't start playing until week 7 for Philadelphia. But he's played well almost every single week, including in the postseason. This last game against Washington, he had an 82 PFF grade. It was one of his best games all year. So it really just highlights the importance of making sure you have the right coaching staff because, we have other guys like Tyron Hopper who are very similar to Oren Burks. It was, I think he was a 3rd round pick, seen as too early of a pick, a head scratcher. Why are you getting a guy like that? Okay, well, I don't know, but we need the right guys in place that if there's something there, I need you to get it out of them. Now, usually this doesn't happen, to be fair, but when it does, it's awfully annoying.
All right, so it's Aaron from Eau Claire. It's nearing the end of the Philadelphia-Washington game, and what makes me mad is if the Packers would have brought some level of competency to their offense in the Philadelphia game and moved on in the playoffs, I mean, don't you feel like they could have beaten the Rams and Washington? I mean, Philadelphia had to go through Washington to get to the Super Bowl with a rookie
We would have had to go through Detroit, though. That's the problem.
quarterback. Washington, I don't know, man. It's just frustrating, you know? And I just, you know, if they would have beaten Philly, I don't know. I mean, I think they're the only ones holding themselves back. I think watching some of these teams play, I'm like, you know, Philly does look good, but the Packers could have beaten Philly or at least hung with them with some even decent quarterback play or, you know, solid play or not some of those mistakes they made. The muff punt. It also makes me even more mad about the whole stupid refs thing with fumble, recovered at the goal line, all that stuff. Just because that's just one thing, you know, in a game that's already a battle between two really good teams, supposedly, like, I don't know. The refs should not be getting that involved. I don't know. You know, it's just disappointing, man. It's hard. I can't even watch these games. It doesn't even give me any feeling of excitement because I just know that the Packers could have been up there with those other teams in the NFC Championship and whatever. I guess it is what it is. I don't like it, but Washington got the crap kicked out of them by Philly. You know, look what Green Bay did to Philly. They only held them to 22 points. And Washington, like, they scored over 40 on them. So what does that tell you about the Packers? I don't know. I think they could have won. That's my 2 cents.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. The way they were playing, I don't think they could have beat anybody. And again, because of the seeding, you know, I mean, Philadelphia had the number 2 seed, so they play the second lowest team, you know. We would have been the lowest seed. We would have played the highest seeded team, which would have been Detroit, had we won. And I don't know that we beat Detroit. I don't know that we beat anybody, but it would have been pretty unfortunate if instead of Detroit getting bounced right away, they end up beating us for a third time and then continuing on, and then who knows, they could end up being in the Super Bowl right now. So I'm at the end of the day, the way the Packers are playing, I think things went about as good as they could have gone.
Ryan, Aaron from Eau Claire again. So, like I said just a few minutes ago, the NFC Championship game just had me all irritated because of the fact that I think the Packers could have beat the Washington Commanders. But it also gets me irritated thinking that over the course of about 11 years since the Aaron Rodgers Packers won the Super Bowl in 2010-11, Aaron Rodgers wasn't even able to get the Packers to a Super Bowl. Not even get there. And that just irritates me because he had elite wide receivers. He had Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, James Jones, Randall Cobb, and he couldn't get it done. And I just think that's incredibly frustrating. I need to stop living in the past, however. So just wanted to say that, get it off my chest. But yeah, I'm kind of pissed off at Aaron Rodgers right now too, to be honest with you, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that went wrong in those games could be at least partially placed on his attitude. I don't know. Maybe not. But I know he also almost led them to some pretty miraculous comebacks and all that stuff in the playoffs. But I don't know. We should have been able to at least get to one other Super Bowl with that level of quarterback and offensive talent. But such is life. So, anyways, see who wins the AFC Championship game. Hoping it's the Bills because, I think the Bills are much more fun than the Chiefs in terms of Super Bowl matchup. So let's see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think on a lot of those, if you go back and look, the the quarterback was not really the main problem. Some of the years, yeah, he definitely didn't play his best. I think especially down the stretch there, some of the Matt LaFleur years, he didn't really have his best games in the postseason. But some of the other ones, if you look, and we did recently, I don't remember exactly how it all pans out, and he didn't play his best games every year. But a lot of times, you look at it, he was one of the guys that did show up in those games. So I don't know, man. It's hard to win Super Bowls. It's hard to get everybody on the same page and everybody to show up. I mean, I could go in right now. Let's just see for a second. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen had his two of his worst games of the year. I mean, not actually his two worst, but two of his worst the last 2 weeks against Baltimore and Kansas City. 64 grade against Baltimore, 65 passing grade against Kansas City. This is with having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, out of his 8 prior games, almost all of them were in the 90s, with the exception of like 2 games. And he goes back-to-back 60s, Deion Dawkins, left tackle, had one of his worst run blocking games of the year. Connor McGovern, the center, had his worst pass blocking game of the year. The right tackle, Spencer Brown, had his worst pass blocking game since week 14. It was his 5th worst of the year. If you look at Washington, Tyler Biadasz, the center for Washington, had his worst game of the year. Their right guard, Trent Scott, had his worst, arguably the worst game of the year, certainly the worst run blocking game of the year, one of his worst pass blocking games of the year. Wide receiver Diami Brown had his worst game since week 11. It was his 3rd worst game of the year. Left tackle had, one of his worst pass blocking games of the year, 39 pass blocking grade. Cornerback Noah Igbenogany had his 2nd worst game of the year. Jeremy Chin, their safety, had his worst game of the year. Marshawn Lattimore had his worst game of the year. Edge rusher Dante Fowler had his 3rd worst game of the year. It's just how it freaking goes, man. I don't know. Really hot team of destiny, and then nobody shows up. The entire Washington team had one guy that graded 70 or higher, and that was Jerzon Newton. Shout out to Jerzon Newton, by the way. Bobby Wagner was close with a 69.6, but I mean, really nobody on the defense showed up at all. So how do you overcome that? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but the Packers have fallen victim to that obviously every year since, and it's hard to just kind of hit that, I mean, the Patriots and the Chiefs have figured out how to just be this hyper-disciplined team. I don't know that really anybody else has figured that out. I mean, you can't even say the Eagles because, again, last year they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. They fell off the second half of the season so hard that they were an appalling football team. And obviously they have serious issues. I mean, they're overcoming it with the amount of talent that they have across the board. They have serious locker room issues on that team. So, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. Why don't we take a break? We'll come back. We got Jared, the Uber driver.
This is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas. And, we get a replay of the Super Bowl. I mean, if we're going to watch it, should still be a good game.
You know what's annoying? I don't plan on watching it, and I know a lot of people are going to say this is not what we wanted, this is stupid. And they're going to come out and say this is the most watched Super Bowl ever. First of all, shut up. I'm so tired of hearing that. Like, oh, that's how you know that it was really good and everybody actually liked it because it was the most watched. First of all, I want that audited. I think the streaming services and everything else have kind of ruined everything, and it could be a million different things. Population growth, first of all, the growth of the sport of football, how many people are just watching it, period. Could be more people watching at home as opposed to going to sports bars or whatever the case. I don't know the reason for the growth. What I'm telling you is nobody wants this crap. Chiefs fans and Eagles fans want this, and that's it. Nobody else wants this. Who wants this? So stupid. I really don't know if I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. I might turn it on for the commercials just because that's a tradition. Not that the commercials have been very good the last 20 years. Last time I thought they were interesting was probably back in the 90s during the Budweiser Frog days. And that was really only funny because we didn't have YouTube and TikTok and everything else that was just hilarious 24/7. There was nothing interesting going on. So Frog saying Budweiser was like, this is the funniest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. But now they don't even really try to be funny. They got to lecture you about stuff every second. It's like, bro, just make me laugh. Okay, don't be stupid. But I don't know. In the halftime show, I don't even know who's performing, but I'm probably not going to like it anyways. It's so dumb. So dumb. Why? Why can't it just be something cool?
But, can't believe we're getting a replay. A very recent replay, too. So, come on. But, oh well, hopefully there's less shenanigans with late flags and stuff like that compared to the last one. But yeah, Chiefs, Eagles, I don't know who I want to win because, Eagles don't deserve it. Scumbag fans. But also, Chiefs, really? 3-peat? Do we really want that? I don't know. But go Pack, go. Have a good night.
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Chiefs just because, like I've said before, at some point it just doesn't matter anymore. They can win 4, 5, 6, 10. I mean, what's the difference? The most dominant team ever, obviously. Whatever, I don't care. So there's the teams I don't want to win. Then there's the Chiefs who I don't want to win, and then there's just everybody else that I'm either indifferent to or would actually be okay with, like if it was the Bills or Washington or whatever. But I don't want the Eagles to win at all. And for them to get 2 in a very short period of time is actually a really good, solid accomplishment that I don't want them to earn. The Chiefs getting 5 Super Bowls over the course of however many years, okay, whatever. I don't care. It's just another one. At some point, it's just another notch in the dynasty. So I would rather just give them another notch than to give a really big deal to a team as scummy as the frickin' Eagles and to those garbage fans. So I might be alone in it. I don't really care. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. No, I shouldn't say I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I hope what happens is that the refs screw the Eagles really hard, and it is one of the most biased, horrible games in the world. And the only reason the Eagles don't win by 50 is because of the referees. I want that to happen so bad. I'm going to laugh at every single time the Eagles get screwed because that's what they deserve.
Well, I guess it's going to be a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Grown. Not what I was hoping for, but poor Bills. Bills are. I want them to get a little something. I want them to get some success one of these years.
I know.
But hey, I guess just a reminder that everyone's heartbroken except the 2 teams that make it to the Super Bowl, and then the 1 team that actually wins the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And everyone else is just hoping for next year. So, anyways, not super excited about the Super Bowl matchup. Who knows if I'll even watch it.
Well, I'm with you. Obviously, like I just said, I don't really intend to watch it. I might. I don't know. I'll probably pop it on for a little bit, just because all the extra festivities. I mean, even my wife watches the Super Bowl for the commercials and whatnot. But the game, I could not care. I mean, I haven't even been watching the playoff games really. I watched a little bit, and then it became obvious the Eagles are going to win, and I just stopped watching it. I saw the Chiefs game in part through about halftime, and then it was getting late, and I just went up to bed. And I think at one point it was like 29-29. I'm like, holy crap, man, they might actually win. And kind of went about. I was like, maybe I'll turn it on. I don't know. I was like, no, if me not watching it is helping the Bills, then I'll just leave it be, and we'll see what happens. Kind of went about my day and asked, I don't want to say her name, but my little robot assistant sitting next to me here, the score of the game, and it said the Chiefs won. So that was that. And I have no real interest in watching this stupid game. I mean, it's just it doesn't really matter. It's been off season for me for a long time. The only real benefit of getting this stupid Super Bowl over with is that everybody has to now pay attention. Nobody wants to talk about the off season right now. There's really, I mean, right now you got Senior Bowl and some really cool stuff going on, but the main national media, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about free agency. They don't want to talk about the draft. They want to talk about the Super Bowl. They want to talk about the Chiefs. They want to talk about Pat Mahomes. They want to talk about Travis Kelce. They want to talk about stupid crap that I just do not care about even a little bit. So soon as this is all done and over with, and we can all be on the same page and actually start talking about the off season, which cannot come soon enough.
Hey, so Ben Johnson, I'm guessing this will be a comments for discussion in a few days on Packernet After Dark. Once it's caught up to that, but a few days ago, Ben Johnson made some comments about how much he loved beating the Packers twice a year. And, well, first of all, that only happened this year. It didn't happen last year.
Right.
It's only been 1 year where he's done that. So, I don't know. It's kind of a dumb comment from that standpoint. But second of all, this is what every Bears new person does. They go up to the podium and they say, "We're gonna learn how to beat the Packers. We're gonna beat the Packers. We're gonna beat the Packers." That's all they talk about, and then they don't. And I think they are fools, because the classic saying, "Under promise, over deliver," in my opinion, is a much better way to go about it. Be humble, acknowledge, hey, we have some work to do. Instead, they get up there and they start talking like they're already there, and we all know that the Bears aren't already there.
Yeah,
they're a long ways away. So I just think that's the kind of stuff where you're putting your foot in your mouth, and you're basically just asking for it. Plus, Ben Johnson might just have too generic of a name to be a head coach. I'm sorry. Ben Johnson. That's like a fake name. Like, if someone
if you're given a fake name,
asked you your name, but you were like
Mike Smith,
taken off guard, you want to tell him, you'd be like, Ben Johnson. That's how generic that name is. So, yeah, I don't know. Just doesn't really shout head coach to me. Not that it really matters, but I don't know. I'm skeptical that he will be the one to lead the Bears to the promised land. And by that I mean to beat the Packers more than once. Anyways, that's all.
Yeah, when Dan Campbell took over the Lions, he acknowledged the situation, and he said, "This is going to be tough. All I'm asking is that you guys believe. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to take a lot of work and blood and sweat and tears and everything. But just don't give up and just trust me and believe in me, and we will get there. I promise you we'll get there eventually." You look at Aaron Glenn, went to the Jets, and what is he saying? He's saying, look, this is not going to be easy. This is going to be tough. We got a lot of work to do. And then you got the frickin' Ben Johnson going to Chicago, and he's all giggling about, oh, yeah, we beat the Packers twice a year. No, I mean, he's doing the whole Hollywood thing. You know, it's like, oh, me and Caleb and all these superstars, we're going to be, we're going to do the superstar thing. And, we'll see. But I agree with you. I think taking a page out of Dan Campbell's book and saying, look, I mean, I'm not going to pretend this is going to be easy. There's a lot of work to be done here. And, right now we're in a division of some of the toughest teams in football. And we just need to get to the point where we can compete. And that's step one. We got all the talent in the world, and I believe in the guys that are here, but lot of work to be done, I think, is the right message, as opposed to making little snide crack comments about how, oh yeah, I beat the Packers twice a year. Well, good for you, Jagoff. Got nothing to do with you being a head coach of the Chicago Bears, now does it? But no, we gotta sit here and get cocky like Ryan Poles talking about. We're going to take the North and never give it back. And I believe they've been last place in the division every year that Poles has been in Chicago. But I like the fact that they are the worst team in the division and they have a target on their back. Teams like Green Bay have always had a target on their back. When Minnesota takes it, they get a target. Detroit right now obviously has a target on their back for being top dog for 2 years now. Chicago should not have a target on its back, and they put a target on their own back. Just stupid. I mean, you're pissing off Matt LaFleur with the comments you make. Obviously, Detroit is going to hate you for what you did. You should not have a target on your back, but here we are. Anyways, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got some beer, cheese, Benny.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here.
Hey.
As I've been diving into my mock drafts and everything and looking into players, there's a guy that I really like, and that's I think it's Braden Swinson from LSU. He's an edge. Now, most of the mock drafts that I've done, like if I picked him as the first pick, it's been graded very bad. But at the same time, most of the time when I do these mock drafts, like, he's not available for the second or third round. But here's the thing about him that I like. He's very athletic, and mostly the thing I like about him is he doesn't get fooled by, like, the runs or the quarterbacks. Like, he's very good at contain. It looks like, just from the film that I've seen, the highlights, like, and I think we really need a guy like that, man. Now, I haven't really seen anybody else that could be like that, but I really would love to get an edge who, one, can get to the quarterback, and two, that can stop the run, contain the outside, and not be fooled by, like, this quarterback crap, and, just be able to, like, do most things. I also was looking at, like, offensive linemen because I really do feel like we need to be deep, because we can't come into a situation like we did in the playoffs where, and obviously, like, putting a rookie in a playoff game is just not ideal. Like, it's just mostly probably not going to work. But there's that guy from Tennessee, Cooper Mays. I believe he's a tackle. He's pretty good, dude. I wouldn't be upset if we got him. And honestly, I think maybe in the later rounds, it'd be cool if the Packers maybe kind of stacked up that O-line, kind of get more depth. And then there was like a couple receivers that I like. And I'm sure we could probably even get out of the third round. One is Nick Nash. And then the other one, I believe from Oregon, is Tez Johnson. That would be pretty sweet, bro. And then there's a guy from Texas. I think his last name is Golden. I don't know his first name. Yeah, dude. It would be sick. Oh, I know, and I forgot about the dude from Arkansas, Armstrong. I would like that, man. So many options, man. Gosh, this is crazy, dude. I don't know why I never got into this. It's actually really fun to think about. All right, see ya.
Yeah, so Braden Swinson, I'm not going to go through everybody you listed down the stretch there. Mays is obviously a pretty late round guy. PFF has him at 6'4", 250 pounds. He is a stand-up outside linebacker. A lot of these guys are. Whether that bothers you or not is entirely up to you. I don't know. I would prefer a guy that's more hand in the dirt just so we don't have to try to convert him, but Definitely an athlete, though, and if the Packers are all on board, I'm on board. I'd love to be able to get some of those speed bend guys around the edge. I know that's not super in vogue these days. Maybe it's coming back. I don't know, but I love the big power guys, but being able to overwhelm these tackles with just raw athleticism, in addition to everything else, obviously, it's a big deal. And it not being able to do it, not saying guys like Rashawn can't, but not being able to do it causes you to not be able to do other things. There's a lot of pass rush moves where having the threat of speed around the edge will open up a lot of things to the inside, speed to power or, cutting back inside, whatever the case may be. So certainly not opposed to it. And again, a lot of edge guys. I've just scratched the surface. As I switched over to watch him as you were talking, I was just watching Mike Green prior to, which I think I've actually watched. I didn't think I've watched him before, but I was watching him. I think I've seen all these clips before, but I can't keep track. But yeah, just looking in like the top 100, Abdul Carter, Michael Williams, those guys are probably out of reach. James Pierce currently at 13, probably out of reach. But then we got Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, Jack Sawyer, Princely Umanmelen, whatever, Landon Jackson, JT Tuimalau, Kyle Kennard, Jared Ivey, Donovan Izuraku, Braden Swinson, Josiah Stewart, all within the top 100, with Ashton Gallant sitting at 104, David Walker 106. So, we're talking 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14-ish guys potentially in those first 1 to 2 to maybe 3 rounds that the Packers could invest in and off the edge. Lots and lots and lots of talent there. There's already talk about possibly trading back. I've seen a couple different things about the value between something like 20 and 40. There's almost no drop-off. So, if you can get 2 picks in there, that would be pretty ideal. Obviously, nobody would like that, having the trade back with the draft being in Green Bay. Don't have to be out of the first round necessarily. You could trade back and pick up another second, trade back to 31 or something maybe, but I don't know. I'm just saying I'm excited to continue to rip through. I haven't really sunk my teeth in enough to know who sort of quote unquote my guy or guys are going to be. I don't think I've come across them yet. I believe I watched Shamar Stewart. I cannot remember. Maybe it was Mike Green all along. I don't know, but so far I have not. I've not found somebody that just knocked my socks off. But we'll keep clipping along here and see how she goes.
Hey, Ryan, Beer Chief Benny here. One more thing I'm going to say before I get started at work on this fine Monday, because I haven't freaking worked since last Tuesday because, as some may know, it snowed here in the South, a real rarity, so I haven't been able to work. You can't really work on a freaking golf course when there's ice and snow everywhere. So I'm going to have to get back to work and start busting ass. The one thing I want to say, man, if Brian Gutekunst is really telling us the truth about how we need to start winning championships now, then he will stop with drafting these guys who are high upside developmental guys. He's going to start getting these guys who actually showed they have the production in college. And that's just what I think, man. It's just the reality is, like, we have got to stop with this crap where we're freaking, screwing around, getting these guys, if they end up being good, they'll be really good. It's like, but we don't know if they're going to be good. Like, no, we need to freaking get these edge rushers and these corners, and pretty much that's what I think, defensively, and even offense, like, pretty much all these picks, we can't leave this whole room for the upside thing. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're wanting to win championships now, you get the freaking ballers that have shown that they're ballers and that they can continue to be ballers. All right? None of this freaking crap where it's like, yeah, you give him a few years, he's going to be freaking great. It's like, okay, well, we've seen that plenty of times, and they never end up being great. So, can please just freaking get championship caliber players. And I know that's really easy just to say, but you get what I'm getting at. Like, Let's find the guys that have the numbers in college, because I'm sure it'll translate. I'm very sure. So, anyways, go Pack, go. I gotta freaking get to work. I don't even know if I'm gonna remember how to work because I haven't worked in so long. But anyways, see you.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, I think it's something that I need to look into a little bit. I'll say this. Most guys that get drafted are some of the best in all of college football. Most of them are very productive. Most of them are not going to be good football players in the NFL, despite being productive. So it kind of depends how you phrase it, right? Like I've said before, I know for a fact that there is no way to know who's going to be good. You can't just say, well, we know that this guy who's been really productive in college is going to be a good football player. No, they're probably not going to be a good football player. The question is, for me, I guess, is there, I don't know, how would you phrase it? I guess you'd probably, because there's so few, you would want to isolate out the ones that did pan out and then just look and see what exactly did they have as opposed to other people. Because, you know, again, you can look at, let's say there's one really good edge rusher and he was productive, right? I think there's probably two or three, but let's just say there's one and he was really productive. That might make you more inclined, like let's say you went through every single person that was at every single position and every single one of them was productive. That would tell me that you don't want to go get guys that were not productive in college. It does not mean that everybody that's productive is going to produce, because then you'd have to look at everybody that wasn't good and tell me that, you know, they were not productive, and you're not going to find that. Like I said, the most productive edge rusher that they had was it Luvu? He was not good in the pros. I mean, that guy was like 96 PFF grade, like 20 sack. I mean, just stupid numbers. He might become a good football player, I don't know. But I know that he was a highly productive guy that just didn't super pan out. And, you know, it does go both ways, too. I mean, you look at a guy like, I mean, for example, I do think Rashawn Gary did work out. He had one down year, and that was this year. And we're kind of now acting like it was a bad pick when I don't think that it is. But you look at, for example, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is a guy that fell. And a lot of fans wanted him. Why? Because of his insane upside. He's so tall. He's so fast. He fell, and when it worked out, what did everybody say? Well, of course it was going to work out. He's a freak. Everybody knew he was going to be great. And so I think similar to the fact that, you know, now that we're a young team and we didn't win the Super Bowl, the problem is that we're young. Now it's like, because we draft a bunch of high upside guys, now we got to draft not high upside guys that are just productive in college. You know, it's just a matter of, well, we didn't win the Super Bowl, so let's do the opposite of everything we're doing. And again, the Packers don't, I mean, maybe you could say in the first round they like to go that direction. I don't know that you could necessarily put Quay in that boat. I mean, he's athletic. He's not like Feldman's freak list athletic or anything. At least I don't think he was. I'm pretty sure he wasn't, not that I'm aware of. But there's plenty of guys that are not super high upside athletic freaks type. You know, again, Jaden Reed was not, Romeo Dobbs not, Wicks not, Sean Ryan not. I don't think Zach Tom was. He's a real good football player, but not athletic freak upside kind of a person. And, you know, there's probably a reason why too, and that's because a lot of the first round picks are athletic freaks. That's why they're first round picks. There's not a lot of you know, non-athletic people that are getting picked really high in the first round just because they're such good football players. The whole point of being a first rounder is that you're a productive person and you're highly athletic, generally speaking, not always. I mean, honestly, you could look at Chop Robinson, who's one of the better pass rushers. What did he have? It 56 pressures and 7 sacks. You know, the most sacks he ever got in a season in college was 5. So, I mean, I'm with you that I really want them to just find good football players and whatnot, but I don't know that that's going to turn out the way that we want it to. I think there's probably going to be a lot of guys that it's not going to translate. I mean, it's not as hard to be a dominant player in college. The question is, do you think they can be a dominant player in the pros? And when you got a guy that is an athletic freak, certainly you think that they can beat up on, for example, a NFL caliber left tackle. If they're not super athletically gifted, they might be able to whoop on some lesser competition in college, but are unlikely to be able to beat a hyper athletic tackle in the pros.
Hey Ryan, Goose here.
What's up?
Just calling in the day after the championship game. I know you disagree with me, but at this point, I don't feel like I can not say that the NFL isn't purposely affecting games to get the results they want. Yes, teams have stumbled on their own. Yes, the teams that are in the Super Bowl are talented, but you cannot deny that critical calls at critical times have gone in these teams' favor to get them where they are consistently. And for the Queefs, it's been 3 years in a row. Everyone can see this bull crap on live TV every year. And the fact that the NFL has done nothing to improve their officiating, though they have resources available to them to do it, tells me all I need to know. They don't want to improve it. And it's degrading the product. And it's making it to the point where I'm not even sure if I want to watch football anymore.
Well, that's kind of the point, right? I mean, the officiating is bad, and we all agree on that. Why would the NFL want that, though? Why would the NFL want a worse product? And why would the NFL want the Chiefs to win? None of us want to watch that. I mean, the Chiefs are not a huge market. They became a bigger market when they started winning, but it doesn't make sense that they would want that. I mean, why wouldn't they try to put Dallas or benefit Chicago or something to that effect? I just think, I think it makes more sense to me that the officiating would go more in favor of, first of all, the home teams. We've seen that, and the Chiefs always have home field advantage. So that's giving them that advantage where the refs that generally benefit home teams, regardless of who the home team is, are going to benefit the Chiefs. And you also have sort of the superstar effect. They're going to be more inclined to throw a penalty when a superstar like Mahomes gets hit, as opposed to just somebody that nobody really cares about, or especially a more, mobile type running back type of quarterback or whatever, more so than Jordan Love or whatever. But I don't know that I can get to the point where it would make sense that the NFL would want to degrade their own product, would want to put on a Super Bowl that less people want to watch. For what purpose? I don't know.
They're just going to decide to make unfair calls.
And again, this would be a conspiracy that would involve hundreds of people. And the idea that would never get out, that none of the officials would ever... look at what happened when one coach was apparently told to throw football games, was offered money, supposedly was offered to throw games for money. He immediately ran and told people about it and threatened to sue and everything. It was a big, huge hubbub. Whether or not that was real or not, I don't know. But, this would absolutely have gotten out by now. You would have had people get approached that, referees would have been approached that would have taken exception to it. Obviously, the other owners it would have gotten back to, and they would be furious. They'd be livid about it. I have a real hard time when there are these massive conspiracies that would involve hundreds of people and nobody has leaked it. Nobody has found out. No whispers have gotten out anywhere. I don't think so. And again, was it Quo Bono or whatever? Who benefits? Who benefits from this? Who benefits from the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl? Nobody wants this. Nobody wants this.
Change the outcome of games that give teams an unfair advantage. It should never be, we knew it was going to be X team versus Y team in the refs. But we saw it in the Eagles' favor, not saying that the Commanders deserve to win that. They looked pretty bad, but there were still calls that were just horrid calls that
home
went
team
in the Eagles' favor that made sure there was no chance they were going to lose that game. And we've seen the same thing with the Chiefs in both of their games. And it'd be one thing if you saw horrid calls going both ways for both teams in the same game. We have not seen that. We have not seen that, and you even see it on Josh Allen's face. I've seen a clip of him that you can look and you see that he knows he doesn't have a chance to win, not because he doesn't think his team has the talent or the ability, but because he knows that even if they get into that position, there's going to be some bull crap that interferes and makes sure they can't get over that hump. It is just shocking. I am sick to my stomach with this league, and they got to clean something up.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because we all know that they can. They're constantly talking about, that this has replay review and this can't. And I think every one of us is on board with why is there anything that shouldn't be reviewed? Everything should be reviewed. The people up in the booth in New York should always have the ability to overrule any bad call that they see. I'm not saying you have to stop play, but anytime there's a penalty, there's a stoppage of play anyways. So they should be reviewing that and have the ability to call down and say, no, it's a bad call. And anytime there was or should have been a penalty, they should have the ability to call down and say, blow it dead, that was a penalty. And I think beyond that, and yes, there should be a higher use of technology in all of this. The way that they spot balls is ridiculous. I don't know if it's as easy as everybody says it is, but it certainly could be, with chips in the balls or whatever. I mean, you'd have to, probably chip all sides of the ball or something, because, if you just have one end of it, then you're going to have bad spots all the time, depending on what side of the ball is forward or backward or whatever. Sensors all throughout the football. I have no idea. And then if that breaks, which you would assume it would, because you're putting technology and electronics in these things that are getting beat up on and whatnot, but certainly would be worth a try, or if nothing else, to have some better visual equipment to be able to determine, where the spot of the ball is, as opposed to these refs who are, 10 yards behind and way off to the side, come charging up and then just randomly put their hand up like, yeah, I was about right here, when we're trying to determine within inches. There's no way where that ball went. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things you could do. And then I think the two biggest other things as far as emphasis should be, number one, the rule of the day should be let them play. You have some officiating crews that are a little bit more let them play and a little bit more throwing flags left and right. In general, it should always be let them play. We're all tired of penalties, and I think most of us, even though we get annoyed sometimes when it's like that was a little bit too much, you know what? If you play that way both ways, then I'm fine with it. But let them play should be the emphasis. I don't remember what number 2 was now, but no, in general, just they need to do a better job of getting officiating out of the game. Really only should be when completely necessary. I mean, there's so many other penalties too that are just, it didn't impact the play at all. Similar to, you don't call pass interference because it was uncatchable. Okay, well, that could be applied across a wide swath of other things. You look at the penalty that was thrown against, what was it, Sean Ryan or whatever, for pancaking a guy, and they're throwing a holding flag or whatever. It's like, first of all, that guy was never going to be able to make a play. Second of all, that's essentially a pancake with his shoulder turned. I mean, these kinds of little ticky-tack bullcrap things that have massive implications on a game, we got to stop this. It's just entirely unnecessary. Leave it alone. And that's what the people in New York should be doing, is just leave it alone. Now, that's silly. And we need, I think this was what my number 2 is going to be, we need consistency. Because there's way too much. I mean, we've seen it with, just the Packers in the playoffs. I mean, look at how many different examples there are. Like when, we obviously have a very clear recovery of a football, and then somebody gets in the pile and rips it out, and they award them the ball. And then later on in the playoffs, you have somebody else do that, where there was a clear recovery by a team, and then I think it was Washington ripped the ball out, and they said, no, the other guy recovered it first. Well, wait a minute. What's the rule? And beyond that, there should have been a penalty that should have been reviewable. New York should have looked at it and said he hit him right in the head. That's a penalty. So the Packers not only get the ball, but there's a 15-yard personal foul penalty tacked onto the end of it. None of those things were done. There's no consistency in officiating. There's no sense in officiating. The game is over officiated. And we really just need to empower innovation and find ways for there to be much more consistency, because some of this stuff, I mean, it's gotten so bad. I don't remember the announcers being this anti-officiating crew as bad as it was this year. I mean, some of these calls were like, what the heck are we doing here? And I really do think the home field thing is a problem. I said that for 2 different games of mine, of ours, the Green Bay Packers games, where the officiating crews tend to are more biased toward the home crowd. And again, I really think that that's just human nature of, people are less inclined to make calls where they're going to be booed and are much more inclined to make calls where they're going to be cheered. And I think it's stupid and pathetic, but I think that it's real. And we've seen it. The Chiefs constantly get benefited from having home field advantage. The Eagles were benefited the entire way through with home field advantage. The Lions were benefited with home field advantage. And I told you going into that Eagles game that this crew is really bad with home field advantage, and sure enough, look at all the terrible calls that went in the Eagles' favor against us. To have something so simple compromise the game is nonsense. It makes you want to just remove officiating from the field entirely. Put frickin' cameras all over the place. Put some chips in the ball, some sensors in the ball. Move all officiating up into a booth. Have 10, 15 people up there watching every angle of the field. And the only people on the field are down there to enact what they're being told. Spot the ball at exactly this mark. Throw the yellow flag because there's a penalty, and I'll tell you what it is. It'll save time, too. We don't need to have the little huddle up on the field. We'll call down and tell you. So you throw your flag, you blow your whistle, and by the time you... Interruptions. By the time you, walk out to the middle of the field, you got the number, you got the call, everything's ready to go. I feel like we're slow walking in that direction. You know what I mean? Like they're so worried about broad sweeping changes, unless of course it's some stupid new rule that they want to add, then that has to happen immediately. But in terms of actually fixing the problems as opposed to just adding new rules, boy, do they like to slow walk that. I mean, come on, man. We just, I don't know. I've made it very clear I do not like the leadership. I don't think that they're trying to make the Chiefs win. I think that they're inept when it comes to this. I don't think that they like, I don't know. There's so much that they do wrong that just annoys the living crap out of me. I mean, I wish it did come out that they were trying to make the Chiefs win, because it's the only way I could see these owners actually trying to usurp Roger Goodell. Because right now they see him as just a cash cow that just wants to expand, which I'm okay with. And the only changes they really want to make is to reduce injuries, especially to quarterbacks, especially to guys like Mahomes, because all your superstars, you need them healthy. And I don't think that's what anybody wants, except, I mean, of course we want guys healthy, but the way they go about it is just so blatantly just stupid. I don't know. They're slow walking in the right direction. I think eventually we get there, but it's just stupid how long this is taking. But I do think we're heading very slowly in the right direction. I love the New York thing. I really do. It's not perfect, but I think it's better. And I think eventually we'll get to the point where it starts to look more like something that we've been asking for. It's going to take entirely too long. I mean, everything is taking too long with the NFL. But I think we'll get there. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. We are getting pretty well caught up on these calls. As of right now, we got probably about one more day's worth. So if you got calls, get them in. Otherwise, as always, I'm fine taking a day if need be. But have a good rest of your night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.